everyone. Welcome to the Divorce Dispatcher, where we dive into the wildest, most unbelievable stories of divorce, breakups, and family drama. Stories that'll leave you speechless. Today we have two stories that will be shared by Sam and Emily.
Wife 32, husband 34. When I married Tom, I knew his mother, Linda, was a big part of his life, but I never imagined just how much control she would have over us. From the beginning, Linda made it clear that she wasn't ready to let go of her precious son. She had a way of inserting herself into every aspect of our relationship, offering unsolicited advice and constantly finding ways to make me feel inadequate. I thought once we were married, things would get better, but they only got worse. Linda was the queen of subtle digs and backhanded compliments. She'd criticize everything I did, from how I cleaned the house to how I dressed. If I made a meal, she'd remind Tom how she used to make it the right way. If I bought something for our home, she'd insist on returning it and buying something better. "Tom deserves the best," she'd say, as if I was incapable of providing it. Tom would just shrug it off, saying, "That's just Mom," dismissing my concerns as if they were petty complaints. Then out of nowhere, Linda announced that she was moving in with us temporarily while her house was being fumigated. The story seemed fishy from the start. There were no prior warnings, no visible signs of pest problems, and Linda didn't even seem all that bothered by the supposed infestation. I suspected it was just another excuse to wedge herself further into our lives, but Tom didn't question it. "It's just for a few weeks," he said, assuring me that she'd be gone soon. But those weeks turned into months, and before long, Linda had made herself right at home. She took over everything. Our guest room became her personal sanctuary, filled with her clothes, jewelry, and the smell of her overpowering perfume. She'd spend her days redecorating, rearranging furniture, and correcting my choices. "This color doesn't suit Tom," she'd declare, repainting walls I had carefully chosen. She even went as far as replacing the family photos I had hung with pictures of Tom and her. It was like she was erasing me from my own home. Linda's interference extended far beyond home decor. She constantly undermined my decisions, especially when it came to our finances. She'd sit Tom down, discussing our budget as if she were the CFO of our household, making him second-guess every choice we made together. She even took it upon herself to open Tom's mail, claiming she was helping with bills, but I knew it was just another way for her to control our lives. I'd come home to find her lecturing Tom on how I was overspending on groceries or accusing me of being careless with money. Tom, instead of defending me, would often side with her, saying, "Mom's just looking out for us." The final straw came when Linda's meddling took a more personal turn. She began criticizing my appearance, making passive-aggressive comments about my weight, how I dressed, and even the way I styled my hair. "Tom likes his women natural," she'd say with a smirk, as if to imply that I was failing to meet her standards. She'd buy me clothes, dull, outdated outfits that made me feel frumpy and uncomfortable, and leave them on my bed with notes like, "Thought these might help." But what hurt the most was when she started inserting herself into our plans to have a baby. Tom and I had been trying to conceive for months, and it was a deeply personal journey, but Linda turned it into her business. She'd make insensitive comments about our progress, hinting that maybe I was the problem. "Tom comes from good stock," she'd say, looking at me with thinly veiled judgment. I knew she was blaming me for our struggles, and it broke my heart. One day, Linda went too far. She set up an appointment with a fertility specialist without asking, presenting it as a gift to us. I was furious. This was our journey, and she had no right to interfere. But when I confronted Tom, he brushed it off, saying, "She's just trying to help. You're being too sensitive." That was the moment I realized I was on my own. No matter how much I fought, Linda would always come first, and Tom would never stand up to her. I couldn't take it anymore. I felt like a stranger in my own home, overshadowed by a woman who saw me as nothing more than an obstacle between her and her son. I filed for divorce, heartbroken that Tom chose his mother over our marriage. I moved out, leaving behind a house that was no longer mine and a man who never saw me as his true partner. I had tried to fight for us, but Linda's grip on Tom was too strong. I walked away knowing that no matter what I did, I would always be second best. Questions. How do you cope when your mother-in-law's interference destroys your marriage? What options do you have when your spouse refuses to stand up to their parent? Can you ever heal from feeling constantly undermined in your own home?
Hello, divorce dispatcher here. You rang? Dealing with an overbearing mother-in-law PR, should we call them monster-in-law, who oversteps her boundaries, especially when she moves in under suspicious circumstances, can be incredibly toxic to a marriage. Legally, while the interference of a third party isn't usually directly addressed in divorce proceedings, it often contributes to the overall narrative of the relationship's breakdown. If your mother-in-law's behavior impacts your finances, living arrangements, or personal decisions, documenting these instances can help paint a clearer picture of the marriage dynamics in court. Setting boundaries is critical, but if your spouse isn't willing to enforce them, it can make any attempt feel futile. Couples therapy might help provide a neutral ground to address these issues, but it requires both parties to be fully committed to the process. Protecting your own mental health and setting boundaries for yourself, even if your spouse won't, is essential. To everyone listening, have you experienced similar struggles with an overbearing in-law? How did you handle setting boundaries, and did it affect your marriage? Let's share our experiences and support each other through these challenging family dynamics. Disclaimer: the information provided here is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult a qualified attorney in your location for specific legal advice. Next, let's listen to a second story from Emily.
Wife, 29. Husband, 31. When I married Jake, I knew he was close to his mother, but I had no idea how much of an impact she would have on our lives. From the beginning, it felt like I was marrying two people. Jake and his mom, Carol. She was everywhere, always inserting herself into our relationship, giving unsolicited advice and making it clear that no one would ever be good enough for her son. At first, I tried to brush it off, telling myself that she was just being protective. But her influence over Jake became suffocating. Carol would show up unannounced, let herself into our home with the spare key Jake had given her, and criticize everything. From how I kept the house to how I cooked dinner. She'd make snide remarks about my job, my clothes, and even how I was raising our son. "This isn't how Jake likes it," she'd say, or "a real wife would do it this way." It was like living under constant scrutiny, and Jake never stood up for me. I tried to set boundaries, asking Jake to talk to his mom about giving us space, but he'd always brush me off. "That's just how she is," he'd say, acting like I was the unreasonable one. I felt like I was fighting a losing battle, not just against Carol, but against Jake's refusal to see how damaging her interference was to our marriage. Things got worse when Carol began meddling in our finances. She'd tell Jake how we should spend our money, what car to buy, and even tried to convince him to open a joint bank account with her for emergencies. Jake went along with it, always deferring to her judgment instead of ours as a couple. When I protested, Jake accused me of being selfish, saying his mom was just looking out for us. The final straw came when I found out Carol had been telling people that I was a terrible wife and mother, blaming me for everything wrong in Jake's life. She even went so far as to call me an unfit parent to our son, and Jake, instead of defending me, just sat there, silently agreeing. I was done. I couldn't live my life competing with his mother for a place in my own marriage. I filed for divorce, devastated that my husband had chosen his mother over me. I had tried everything to make it work, but I couldn't compete with the woman who had always been his first love. Questions. How do you cope when your spouse's loyalty is with their parent instead of their partner? What are your legal options when a mother-in-law's interference drives a wedge in your marriage? Can you ever truly heal from feeling second best?
Hello, divorce dispatcher here. You rang? Divorce due to overbearing in-laws, particularly a spouse's inability, sometimes referred to as a mama's boy, to set boundaries, is unfortunately common and can be emotionally devastating. Legally, when a third party interferes in a marriage, it's challenging to address directly in divorce proceedings, but the impact is still felt in custody, spousal support, and property division. Setting clear boundaries early in the relationship is essential, and documenting any financial interference or negative impact on the household can be useful if it becomes part of the divorce narrative. Emotionally, couples therapy might help set those boundaries, but if your spouse is unwilling to support you against family interference, it often signals deeper issues that are difficult to resolve. Support groups and therapy can be crucial for reclaiming your sense of self after feeling undermined in your marriage. To everyone listening, Have you dealt with in-laws who crossed the line? How did you handle setting boundaries, and did it affect your relationship? Share your stories, and let's support each other in navigating these challenges. Disclaimer: the information provided here is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult a qualified attorney in your location for specific legal advice. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please comment, like, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next video. Your support means a lot, and we love hearing from you in the comments. Divorce Dispatch is signing off duty. Until next time, take care.